Okay, we are now joined by Dale Earnhardt Jr., driver of the number 88 Nationwide Chevrolet. Dale has a Martinsville driver rating of 99.4, which makes this his best track on the schedule. But before we take questions, Dale, you have a program going on through the Dale Earnhardt Jr. Foundation that kicks off this weekend. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, we're working with a Nationwide Children's Hospital to raise money for the hospital. Last year we did this gloves program where we wore a pair of gloves each month and auctioned them off on eBay. And this year we're doing that again, and we're going to do it 4 months this year. This is the first month where we're wearing blue gloves all month for autism awareness. And so we're really excited to be able to announce that program. And we've thought of different ways to get creative each year. We've done a little bit differently each year to try to raise as much money and awareness as we can. So look forward to releasing more information throughout the season as we go along, but this will be the first month, and we hope to be able to raise a lot of money. If we can win a few races, it definitely makes those gloves a little more valuable, so that puts a little pressure on the team and myself, but it's good pressure.
We'll now open it up for questions. Please raise your hand, state your name and affiliation. We'll get a microphone to you. We'll start over here with Claire B. Lang.
Claire B. Lang, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. Dale, why do you think this is your best track? You know, people would assume it was a restrictor plate track or something, and when you hear that, it almost doesn't even make sense, but it is. Why do you think you're so good here?
I don't know. I didn't know it was my best, but I love the short tracks. You know, for a long time there, maybe about 10 years ago, in a little span of about 3 or 4 years, we were getting more points at the short tracks than any other team. And we were running consistently in the top 5. I think we had a string of 4 to 6 top 5s in a row at Martinsville at one particular point. I love short track racing, and we don't get to do a lot of it, so that makes you love it more. And that's you know, the less is more kind of mentality I think works. And for me there, being able to come to these tracks and only knowing you're only going to get a run here a few times, run a couple short tracks throughout the season a few times, it makes you really appreciate it and work hard, and it makes you, really try to take care of the car, to run all the laps and get everything out of it you can, just because it's so much fun to begin with. I have ran with some great programs here. Obviously, Hendrick is had a lock on this place for a long time, and that really makes us look good when we get in those cars, because they're always going to be great race cars. So I look forward to Sunday. I think we showed in the first practice that we have some pretty good pace and race trim. We're struggling in qualifying trim again, but we're going to work on that, and Greg's in there changing things and throwing up ideas on the whiteboard, and we're going to see what works.
Okay, we'll go to Bob, Jeff, and then Nate.
Bob Pockris, ESPN. As far as the tweet about donating your brain to science, Is that something that you've knew you're going to do, or is that something new? And what would you want to learn, or what would you hope people would learn from your brain?
Yeah, hopefully they don't have to look at my brain. Whenever I pass away, they've learned enough in the science to study the brains of living adults, but hopefully the science has advanced enough to where that they no longer need to be poking around inside my brain. But I was inspired really by Brenda Chastain and the Raiders guys that donated their brain in honor of their teammate. I went through my experience in 2012 and met some amazing doctors at the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center. Mickey Collins was one of those guys, and they gave me the confidence going through that process that I could be successful and get through it, and I have. I've been healthy and successful, and I learned a ton. I may be even a better race car driver today, and I'm definitely getting the results on the track that I've always wanted. So I will be donating my brain, or pledging my brain is what they like to say, to the Concussion Legacy Foundation, and they are in partnership with Boston University, where the brain bank is. And so that's and it's something that I was a donor already for many years, as my driver's license would attest, and so it seemed like a reasonable thing to do for me. So anything that I can do to help others. But hopefully the science is advanced far beyond where it is today, and they don't need it. But it was something that I didn't have to ask myself whether I wanted to do it or not. Going through that process in 2012, I learned so much and have so much respect for the work that those doctors are doing, and really was inspired by some of the athletes that have pledged their brains before me.
Jeff?
Jeff Gluck from USA Today. Your tweet the other night, was it a spur of the moment thing where you were sort of reacting to something you saw, and then all of a sudden it's on like NBC Nightly News and Good Morning
That's
America?
exactly. I saw a story. We obviously had the week off, and I was just sitting around reading Twitter and saw that story about the Raiders donating their brain, and I just thought that was amazing that those guys did that in honor of their teammate. So, and I read where Brandy had done that maybe a month ago, and so that just was really inspiring. And I saw someone mention, I don't even know what the context of the tweet I was responding to was, but I just felt that I probably should have. Mike Davis would prefer me to have done that in more, put together fashion where we could have put together a release or whatever. But I just was in the moment of conversation, and that's sometimes the comfort that you find yourself in on Twitter sometimes, and I didn't expect it to turn into the story it did. But by all means, if it raises more awareness and inspires people to donate their brains and pledge their brains, they don't need just athletes. They need everybody. So I'm going to give up all the organs that are worth anything when it's over with, so they can have it all.
Okay. Nate?
After that point, then did you figure out where it would go?
Yeah. Yeah, I got in touch with the Concussion Legacy Foundation, and they helped me understand exactly what the process is, and it's very straightforward. You get a card, basically like you would carry around a driver's license where it says you're a donor on the license. There'll be a card in your pocket that you carry in your driver's license, and your family can refuse. Nothing's binding, so it's really just a promise in a way. And you share that information with your family so they're aware, and when this comes up, if you happen to pass untimely or what have you, if this comes up, someone will contact them, and they can refuse. Nothing's binding, so it's very easygoing, comfortable thing for me, and I'm looking forward to having an opportunity when we go to New Hampshire, maybe to go up to Boston University and talk to some people up there with the brain bank and learn more. I'm really excited or passionate, I guess, a little bit to know more about it and understand the whole process. Certainly want to know everything you can do. That's a very serious and personal decision. So it'd be interesting to go up there and see the bank and understand more.
Okay, we'll go to Nate and then back to Andrew.
Nate Ryan, NBC Sports. Dale, obviously concussions, not just in sports, but in racing have been a hot topic recently, especially with Will Power's misdiagnosis at St. Pete. Jimmy Johnson said this morning that he feels that is an example of there needs to be better protocols for IndyCar and NASCAR to ensure you don't have misdiagnosis. I know you saw what Brad Keselowski said about how he feels as if doctors aren't well versed enough yet to make those diagnoses, and he's not sure if professional sports should put faith in them and the medical community's advice. Where do you stand on all that? Is there a need for better at-track testing, and do you view it differently than the way Brad does, where it seems like he's not sure he's ready to trust doctors, but you would probably look at it from a different perspective in that you did trust the doctors, and like you said, you got better 4 years ago. Yeah,
I see the argument in reverse, whereas most concussions are self-diagnosed, and as a driver, I think the real purpose of the conversation should be to help drivers, football players, whoever it is, to understand that it's okay to self-diagnose and go get help. And I feel very good about the protocols that are in place, and they've stepped up, and they've gotten more like using the impact test. I believe in the impact test and what it's used for and how it's used, and I think it's a great tool not only for understanding a concussion or trying to diagnose a concussion, but it's also a great tool to treat the concussion. Once you have been diagnosed and understand that you have the concussion, how to treat it, because concussions are like snowflakes. There's no two concussions that are the same, and so each one deals with certain parts of the body, and to be able to use that impact test helps you understand how to treat that particular concussion. And so I think the protocols and the advances that we've made in trying to protect ourselves are great things, and I'm excited about what NASCAR has done. They're really taking this head on. They're talking to the right people. They're talking and involving themselves with the right folks to get the best information to be able to protect the drivers the best way they can.
Okay, back to Andrew on your left.
It'll just get better, the same way everything else in the sport progresses. Look at the interior of the car, for example, and how it's changed. I mean, the more information we get from the doctors, the better equipped we are to protect ourselves. I feel good about it. So I understand some of the drivers' concerns, but going through the process myself really helped me understand exactly what everything's there for and how to use it.
Andrew Dowd, Fox Sports back here. Question about racing here at Martinsville. Short track like this, a pit road as challenging as this. Can you just talk to us a little bit about the importance of staying patient, hitting your marks, and how quickly things can change? You try to eliminate some of those mistakes here? Yeah, it looks pretty straightforward as far as racetracks go, but there's little things about each corner, and the exit of 4 is so different than the exit of 2. Looks identical, but inside the car, they're two different corners. There's some bumps getting into turn 3 that you don't really deal with in turn 1. So in qualifying, you can overdrive the car and get the front hopping into the center. And I don't qualify well anywhere, but I've struggled here as well. But I race great, so I don't understand how to sort of marry the two and make both of them great. But there's certainly a lot more to it, than what you see visually. Watching a car go around the track, as far as the marks, the braking, the lifting, and everything that you're doing to get the car down in the corner. So it's a real challenge, but in the race you sort of get in repetition. Qualifying, you have to go out there and make it happen with blind faith that the car is going to do exactly what your mind thinks it's going to do. And in the race, you can run a lap, man, that didn't really work. Let me try this, and let me move around and do this. And I feel like that's my strength once I'm in the car in the race, is I can adjust what I'm doing to get the car to work. And in qualifying, we struggle with that. But it's definitely a track where you can get in a good rhythm. But, yeah, if you don't focus on marks and what you're doing, you can certainly get yourself in trouble and very inconsistent. And guys are all around you. You don't get a break here. So if somebody gets a nose under you, you can get trained and lose several spots over the next few laps.
Okay, we've got time for just one more question. Hank?
Hank Kurz with AP. Dale, how much do you hope that your kind of celebrity status, and you've obviously looked into this brain stuff a lot more than most people do. They just want to be told you can play, you can't play. How much do you hope that your announcement that you're going to do this kind of inspires other people to do it?
That would be awesome if it inspires other people to do it. Even, I've talked with people within my own family, and they've been inspired to learn more. So that's a good feeling, and I think that's what that's the sort of benefit that the Concussion Legacy Foundation is looking for when someone with some notoriety makes that sort of decision. So hopefully it does a lot of good. It's very uncomfortable for me to be in that sort of light in any shape or form. Anytime I get a little too much attention, I get a little nervous. But I want to do the right thing, and having gone through that experience in 2012, I've been really inspired by what I've seen since then from other people. So it was a no-brainer for me, and they don't need just athletes. They don't need people that just play sports. They need brains from all over, and But again, you know, like I say, hopefully I'm going to live 40, 50 more years, and the science has progressed so much that they don't need it. But if they do, it's there.
Great. Dale, thank you so much for your time. Good luck this weekend.